Okay, this is Sarah, your medium on the go, and for Tarot for Our Times. And the Page of Cups reverse, the Titty Baby card, wants to find out if he is going to be getting on the next bus out of town or being thrown under it. Now, he's come up a number of times with this card. And this is the self pitying, identity crisis, whiny person of the tarot. And with the reversed, with it being a cup in reverse, that is his ketamine habit. So I did see on one of, I think it might have been Midas Touch. I'm not sure because I watched a lot of them. That they showed this very tearful interview, and he got combative with the interviewer. You can see that on other channels. It's too disgusting and nauseating. Where once again he plays the victim. So, we all know that Fotis has a big habit of throwing people under the bus. There are crowds of the sadder but wiser. I don't know how people don't see that. I'm sure from the day he made his first real estate with Daddy when he was in high school or whatever, he was probably taught that you discard people when they're no longer used to you. The problem with the muskrat, and I've gone over this, and so have my colleagues, and so have, Midas Touch, and, the rest of the non-esoteric commentators have said they both have stuff on each other, so they kind of have to tread carefully. So I know he's still going to be doing stuff, and he's got a whole bunch of information, but I would say if anyone thinks that Anonymous isn't working on destroying all of that, you have to be pretty naive. But they're playing it pretty close to the vest. So I want to read on what is going on. I would think that if Trump were throwing him under the bus, he can't do it in the way that he's usually done with people. He has to be a little bit more clever about this. So I just want to see what is going on. Is he leaving voluntarily, and is he really leaving or not? That he'll be in the background, well, we will see. I know his brand has taken such a hit that, and I also know people addicted to drugs are not real focused. They'll go from one thing to another. So let's see what's going on with this. I've already shuffled, but I want to do just a little bit more to. Okay, so let's see where is he at right now? It's so hard to tell with crazy people and addicts where they're at. Their energy is really difficult to read. Okay, so we have the Star in reverse. His star is definitely not shining anymore. And the one big thing that was going on that started some friction was he was early on in this administration that seems to have gone for 10 years rather than a few months. The whole thing is that each of them have been jealous about the other getting the spotlight, especially he who was inaugurated. So that kind of backlashed on the Muskrat when his brand is in the crapper. He's realized the full extent of the worldwide loathing towards him, And it's like and he's lost money. See, that's the thing. He has lost money in the stock market with his brand, and I think he may be trying to get it back. But the question is this is getting these contracts, is that going to be worth it, or is now his other venture, that Star Trek or whatever the hell it is thing that's going on, is that truly worth it, or can he just go on to scamming somebody else? So let's see what the energy is. Yep. He's looking for new horizons. He'll always kind of have I think he's going to put us on the back burner. He's absolutely loathed, internationally. But he can, I think he's kind of keeping an arm's length, because he can go to the Russians and maybe to the Chinese for a certain extent, North Korea, those terrorist countries that he just went to with his master. But I also get a sense that his ego, he's got that junky ego mindset that he's nobody's pet poodle. And I think the rest of the world has seen him as Trump's pet poodle. So leading up to this, we have with the before tarot. Okay, yes. He and his boys getting ready to steal the goodies, and hoping that no one in those tents are watching. But he's getting ready to steal the goodies. And then, of course, he may have done that, but it's kind of backfired in the way the world looks at him, and he hasn't been able to get the magic and the manifestation that the star card has. So that is the star, isn't it? Yeah, it is the star. Okay, so then kind of after that, we've got, this guy looks really, really confused. The Page of Swords, because his plans didn't quite work out. The lies that he told, he just hasn't been able to communicate. So this guy is, as he looks at the sword, he's kind of sizing up his, just sort of like sizing up his options, and trying to figure out what's next. And what is he going to communicate now? Because it seems like everything he does just backfires. So the underlying things of all of this that could lead him to doing whatever. Maybe it's a combination of the two. That could be. I just got a little flash that maybe it's a mutual thing of, you're being thrown under the bus, but you can get out in a way so it looks like you're not being thrown under the bus. But okay, so underneath this is that give and take he had. You get $250 million. I get those contracts, and it kind of looks good on paper, but it just did. So that's all well and good, but his Tesla thing is just hemorrhaging money. People don't want to be caught dead in those things. In the swastikas, yes. And then we have the Knight of Wands, which is this guy's all over the place. He thought he was going to set the world on fire by being all caught up in this administration. But what's actually happened is that he went too fast, and he's burned out. I mean, this whole thing with the Doge boys, it absolutely hated. I am sure They have all, I mean, those pictures were up. They've all been doxxed right and left. Who knows what threats or whatever people are sending to them. So here we go. Yep. Trying to figure out the next move. Isn't it funny? He gets all pages. Um, Real little boy stuff. So he's trying to figure out what's his next move. Where is he going to put his money? That's the whole thing. Where am I going to put my money to make more? So he is considering his options. So, and I understand that plates have flown and there have been big screaming matches because he dared to criticize the tariffs. So, in opposition of this, we have the, again, we have the Six of Pentacles. This is upright now. It's the maybe it's the rethinking, like maybe taking money from the peasants, as he calls us, that may not be a bad idea, because he's really, I would have to say, with stuff like that, you mess with people's money, you put a target on your back. You can use your little toddler as a shield. You can have all the security in the world, but if somebody wants to get you, you'll be got. It may not be tomorrow, it might be next year, it might be, but that's the whole thing of being hated. And if he thinks the peasants have no power, he needs to read up on the French Revolution. Okay, I haven't been able to get that thought out of my mind. Okay, so on the conscious level, the sun in reverse. So that's, well, I will just hide everything. The funny thing was he was all upset because they accused me of being a Nazi. Well, you know, if it goose steps like a Nazi and it salutes like a Nazi, like hello. So it's all, trying to hide that, and his family were like Nazi sympathizers and were asked to leave Canada and all this stuff during war. I mean, he can't hide that stuff. So it's kind of a delusional thing. Well, if I just hide that stuff, maybe they'll love me. Okay. Subconscious thoughts. The greedy are always worried about balancing their money, and God forbid they should lose a single penny. There's never enough. It's keeping the balance. It's keeping the boat afloat. So that is the subconscious thing of that kind of fear of poverty that this card talks about. So, okay, so let's see what's going on here. So in the past, we'll use one of these guys. In the past, we have the Tower in reverse. It's not total collapse, but it's a mini collapse here. It's losing a few million here, there, and it does add up eventually. And also, he has not learned his lesson from these other disasters. So we don't have the two people falling out of the window. The storm has just, I think the thing is, the storm has just begun and it hasn't hit yet. But he doesn't learn, so he will be getting more of the same. So let's see, we have where he is now. So this could be that maybe he feels that he'll dodge a bullet by leaving the States on one hand, but on the other hand, this is following him everywhere. So in the present, the Four of Pentacles. Yep, he's going to hang on to all the stuff. He's going to hang on to all his money. all his stupid ideas. He's going to hang on to his Doge boys. Um, it's just mine, 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 gimme, gimme, gimme. But um, as you can see, the chest is open and he has lost. So it's kind of like he may be trying to weigh, well, what is the am I losing more from the whole Tesla thing, or how am I losing? Am I staying around, being associated with Trump? Is that messing up my bottom line? So I'm kind of thinking that I know I heard Tabitha say, well, he's just going to go back in the background, and I do agree with her to a certain extent, but I also have, listening to her whole thing, it wasn't very long, and I was thinking, anonymous, that, that's the whole thing of him having files on all of us. That really could be, I think Anonymous is going to blow that to the smithereens. And I don't think they got everything. It's the old, they had to go through the old system, so they may not have as much as they think. Okay. So moving on to what's coming up immediately. It is leaving in reverse, possibly maybe trying to catch up with his family, because that whole thing is a shambles. So I think there is some walking away, a little bit of hesitation, but not completely. But I believe there is some walking away. Not that he can't do any more harm, because he can. So further down the road with the after tarot is the Knight of Swords in reverse. So this is all about miscommunicating, and he's in battle, then he's going after someone, but this is telling me that this is what drugs will do to you. I think he is going to probably be stabbing some people in the back that are not his real enemies. And a thought had occurred to me that as far as the list of people, and instead of going after Joe Schmo that has nothing, nothing but a social security check or whatever, so that person isn't going to be useful, I think what he may do is go after his perceived enemies in the government, in Congress, in the court system. So I would advise, I'm sure they've done this, really lock down your accounts, do something where he can't get into it. I know there's all kinds of clever things, because this is going to be unfocused revenge, because he's being driven by the drugs. He really is. I mean, seeing him on that interview, he was so high. He was really trying to question the reporters. Okay, so then further out in the future is not only is this the bad fruit, but he's kind of lost the fruit too. I guess having bad fruit is better than having none. So he's lost it, and even further, a few months down the road, okay. So he's the emperor, and he is still going to try to keep his own empire together. Maybe the whole thing is that he doesn't want to be part of the Trump empire. Now all those jokes about him being the president and Trump was his vice president, that's kind of faded. Those memes have faded. But I believe that now that he's back down to second fiddle, and I think that's really what's been going on. Instead of being, I think he was kicked out of his room at the White House, but he's not that far. But I think he was basically kicked out of the palace. And with an ego like that, now what he's got to do is rule his own empire. So again, this shiny object of the U.S. government, he may be losing interest and focus. Okay, so hopes and fear time. So in the hopes, we have that he can patch himself. He's wounded. He wants to patch himself and move on, but he isn't quite sure of where. But he knows that moving on is probably in his best interest, because being associated with Trump and what he's done, of course, he's just going to blame Trump because junkies don't take responsibility for themselves. So he's doing a little patching up and trying to move on. But I think, and it goes with the Page of Cups in reverse, the titty baby cup, is that he that hasn't formed a kind of identity to, okay, so what do I go on to next? What next empire do I build? And his reputation is wounded. Usually in this card upright, he's ready to move on, but I would say he may be moving on to another disaster. But hope springs eternal, and his fear is, again we have the Eight of Cups in reverse. So I think in this instance, I think it is the fear of leaving something that he knows, even though it's been a disaster. There's a fear of the unknown, and he's a little bit afraid to leave this. So it's like he doesn't know if he wants to stay or go. But I know he's backed off. He has backed off. So I want to see. The concluding card for this is, Seven of Wands. That's the Nine of Wands. Okay. Seven of Wands. He's got it all. That is so perfect for him. They're all coming after him. They're absolutely all coming after him. And he really doesn't have very anywhere to go, because, as I say, there is the open window, and this can kind of open up a whole, and I always associate with this with Russian expediency, being near the open window. Something tells me, and this may be kept under wraps until Putin decides to spring it, is that there may be an issue with the Russians. He may be going to them, but they don't like Trump. They don't like him. And, well, this is for entertainment purposes only, that I just kind of got a little hit from the beyond, so to speak, is that he could really be targeted by the Russians and possibly drink the wrong cup of tea, be too close to an open window, or a highly likely thing is that somebody could be tampering with his drugs. Now, in my readings, with a lot of heroin, when people, really sad, their brother, their son, or husband died of a heroin overdose, a lot of times I get this hit like, something? They got something that was tainted or was way too strong, and so about more than 50% of the time with that, the sitter will say, "Oh, yes, they found it in the toxicology, in the in the autopsy." So that's not really far-fetched. Somebody, not that he injects it, but somebody could be slipping something into the pills. Are so easy to counterfeit. Someone could be doing that. I think that the Russians are sort of those people, like, they're around, they're in other countries, they infiltrate. The KGB was really good at that, and don't forget who was the head of it. So I would say it is not too far-fetched to think that if they really want to put the scare in Trump, they could off Musk or get rid of him. Not saying it will happen for entertainment purposes only, but just let's say maybe in the next year. I wouldn't that I mean, nothing surprises me, but especially that would not surprise me at all. So his back is up against the wall, and considering his drug issue, that makes somebody very dangerous. Now, I don't know if those boys, I should do a reading to see if those boys might be partaking, because there's no better way to control people than to get them high, get them high and get them hooked. So that's kind of in the realm of possibilities. So I wouldn't be too surprised. So I want to see the impact it has on us, because it's scary knowing somebody has your information, whether they use it or not. And you have a loose cannon, and you may have a loose, he may be giving those kids drugs like speed or something too, so they can stay focused and work very long hours. I know this is for entertainment purposes only, but it just is not out of the realm of possibility, to be quite honest. So I want to see how this is going to affect us, and maybe to take a look and see if there are things about his having all that information, or does he really have as much as he, because people have forgotten that they use all over the government, they use systems that they developed in 1988, and the kids today, they don't know how to crack that. They just never bother to update that whole thing. So I'm not so sure of how much they have, because grandiosity is a real big part of the illness that he has. So he could brag and say he's got all our information. I'm not quite so sure that how true that is. I really am not too sure about that. So we'll see what the cards uncover for the next part of this, which will be more than likely a shorter reading. Okay, so let's just see what the cards uncover. I think from the last one, I think a very high probability is that he's keeping a low profile. I think Trump would like to, have him go back to South Africa or whatever, but he has to be really careful, because the Muskrat has some dirt on him too, so which is a little different than. But he will, any way that he can. If he can find a way to just get rid of him. Or maybe if the Russians did get the Muskrat, maybe he wouldn't be upset. He'd go, thank you. Who knows? But that could be scary. That could be I think there could be a combination of that on one hand, and on the other hand, that could be scaring him, because he'll think if they can get him, they can get me. So who knows? But we'll just have to wait and see what unfolds. We're not right all the time. Okay. So let's see what's going to be happening as he kind of pulls back, and maybe pulls, if his greed, the whole thing is if his greed leads him to greener pastures. So let's see okay, alrighty. Yep. We're being thrown a big smoke screen, because we really don't know what the hell's going on with him. So, and that's what they do. They throw all this, like Taylor Swift, Bruce Springsteen, Yeah, they're going to investigate. So what? What are they going to find? Nothing. It's just a load of bullshit to keep us distracted. So whatever's going on with him, maybe that's a distraction. Who knows? So the energy with that is it's the world. It's very likely, because I think this is going to bleed into the last reading about what's going on with him, is that he may be just done. He may be just done, and maybe they're saying, well, maybe he really isn't, because he was kind of there in the Middle East and all this stuff. Maybe he is done, and maybe this thing is over, and they're just dangling these possibilities out there to distract us from the god awful budget thing that's going on. So let's see. What do we have? Leading up to this, what do we have in the lead up to this? The Seven of Wands. Okay. That came up in the present. This is, yep. He sees them. It's almost sort of like the praying Japanese thing, the World War II. They pray before they, and have their own funeral before they go and dive into whatever, become human bombs. So, but I think he's praying, getting ready, but he better not do it long, because those things are coming up the hill for him. So, that's very interesting. And that sort of thing never occurred to me. And let's see what's coming after this with all these distractions we have. Oh, the Emperor in reverse. Yeah, his power is truly diminished. The Emperor has no clothes. He's just a big fool. So I think in this one I think he's just getting ready to. I think he's had his day of being an emperor, and he's kind of chilling out. But I think in this one, it's just like the power. It goes with this too. His power is pretty much done, and to be speculating is just another distraction for us. But it works very well. So in opposition of this, we have Eight of Pentacles, which is the hard work of accumulating the money. It's the money. And I would also say that's hung up in specific places, that if you want to get to the bottom of this, follow the money, because that's all it's been about, is the money. So in the past, we have this whole emotional thing. All that stuff he was doing was really full of drama, and then literally just very fishy. That fish is not going to stay in there. I'm sure that water spilling out is toxic waste from all of the regulations they want to remove. Okay, so that's been in the past, and it's also to pull our emotional strings. So presently now, yeah, the good old Five of Cups in reverse. That what telling us now is, I think that angsting over this and speculating and regretting, I think most of the public is realizing it's just a big waste of time. Now, when you get away from doing that and getting over that whole emotional thing, then you get to be more focused and vigilant, which is what I think people are doing. I mean, I remember way back in January or whatever, he got his hands in the IRS or whatever. I called my bank and they reassured me that they have to jump through quite a few hoops to try not. And from the way the guy at PNC spoke to me, I don't think I was the first one that called that day. And I did say it was because of Musk and those boys and what they're doing. So I think people are taking steps to be prepared and letting go. And it goes to the whole thing. This has been a really horrendous emotional thing, but I think people are starting to get over that and get focused. I'm talking more about I think we're a little bit ahead of those in the government, but I think that's happening also. So in the immediate future, we have the realization of the lies that's been told, that this is usually upright, getting to the truth of thing, but this is right up front telling us we have been lied to. I think a lot of people thought, oh, he's going to cut the waste in government, yada yada yada, but what he did was cut their job instead. So this is people seeing the truth. And going a little further up the line, we have, the good old, the aftermath of the Ten of Swords, where if this were upright, the wounded party with all of those swords is being taken off to get some help. I would say this is probably the opposite. I mean, here we are wounded, and we are not being carried off the battlefield. And so that's becoming quite apparent. Now, I would also say that this is about wanting to realizing how they want to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and all this sort of thing. But they're kind of cowardly. They're not going to do it until 29, which means there will be a whole new administration from top to bottom. But it's just out there. It's out there, and that this is what people are finally realizing. And then further out is really becoming aware of. And this is interesting because this is the after Empress, and she looks just the same except she's not pregnant anymore. You compare her to the regular one, and she's not pregnant anymore. So I'm seeing this as Mother Russia and all the stuff they're trying to give to her. They want to make a trade agreement. I mean, they have oil. That's about it. They want to make a trade agreement, but it's also realizing that she's no longer the mother that we thought she was. And I think it's becoming aware of the fact of how much of an influence Russia has been with this. I think people are starting to wake up to this. I think one more futuristic card. Okay, the Page of Pentacles. And this is upright. This is him giving it to this little gnome creature. In reverse, it's about, money that was given to those in need may not be forthcoming. I would say, and I might hope that, the charitable foundations may be picking up a little bit of the slack, but it isn't going to be enough. So, okay. Let's go to hopes and fears. So, in the hope, I would say literally in the hope that we're hoping that he is screwing himself. The two of them are screwing them so much that this death march that they have with our democracy, that is going to be turned on its head. That's our hope. That is our hope. And also the true meaning of the death in reverse is that kind of like near death, close call experiences, which could be this too. The hope that this is just a close call. The fear is that people are clinging to the wrong part of the past. And everybody loves to go back to the 50s. I don't know why. They just like to. The 50s was segregation, and so this whole anti-DEI stuff it's just returning to that. This is returning to the worst of our past and dismantling women's rights. So the fear about that is going back to a very bad part of our past, and that's part of this emotional thing going on here. Okay, so a concluding card here, we have the Queen of Wands in reverse. So it's a nasty female energy. She's an ill-tempered person, and she couldn't be faithful to her husband if her life depended on it, but she likes to cover up, manipulate, all of these sort of things. So this is pretty much what we've been going through with the Doge boys, because and him and well, they're incel, they're sexually frustrated. Who wants to get laid by those creeps, you know? I mean, come on. So we've got frustrated incels. We've got one, the president, who can't be has never been faithful to any of his wives. If you're not, and if you're such a serial infidelity cheater sort of person, how can people trust you to be faithful to the United States? I mean, come on, everybody. So this is the learning of what this has been all about. That it's mean, it's nasty. They'll throw that thumbnail I have with the bus throwing under the bus. They're trying to throw us under the bus, but I think the thing is that they're so busy trying to throw each other under the bus that does work to our advantage. So I'm going to put one after clarifier on this, which is this is the nine of Pentacles. What is she doing here? Because it is a little different. Okay, the Nine of Pentacles here is she's sort of tending to her garden. She's growing it, but I would say that in reverse, it's about being trapped by the greed. It's just it's a lesson to us. I think the conclusion that when you become one of these greedy queens, and she's also very greedy too, and entitled, very, very entitled. So this woman is kind of a good pair to her. So she's very entitled, but what she doesn't realize, because you can see she's not real focused, what she doesn't realize is that there's a big price to be paid for her greed. And the bird that you usually see on her wrist, which is her prize, it's sort of like her prize thing in most of the decks, she can't even hold on to that. So this is telling me, next to the Queen of Rods reversed, is that she is so focused on growing her garden of money that she's lost a lot of people in her life, and that it's a very, very lonely thing. So this is, again, a lesson in, I think these people are good. They're destroying themselves. I mean, how much longer can somebody go on ketamine? it eats up your organs. It's obviously eating up his brain. I mean, it's